What would happen if, in the most energy-poor place on the planet, evolution chose to exaggerate life to an absurd degree? At depths greater than 4,000 meters on the ocean floor, where there is no sunlight and temperatures hover around just 1 to 2 degrees Celsius. The amount of available food is over 98% lower than in surface waters. Most of it arrives only as tiny fragments drifting down slowly, sometimes taking weeks to reach the bottom. In this environment, every movement is an energy subtraction, and a single small mistake can cost more than 10% of an organism's vital reserves, losses that may take months to recover. By all familiar logic, life here should be small, light, and almost motionless. But reality is not like that. Beneath thousands of meters of water exist creatures longer than a human by an order of magnitude, with tentacles stretching 6 to 8 meters, bodies as wide as a medium-sized Walmart store, and masses comparable to a Ford F-150. Some species grow at an extremely slow pace, trading speed for lifespans that last centuries, longer than the existence of many nations on land. In a world shaped by scarcity, evolution did not choose the path of frugality. Instead, it did the complete opposite. It created giants. So why, in the harsh environment of the deep sea, does evolution grant large size only to a handful of rare organisms? The answer does not lie in monsters in general, but in the conditions that make large size energetically sensible. And to understand that, we begin with the giant squid. The Bigfin squid is considered one of the most unsettling examples of an ocean creature taking on a monstrous form. It belongs to the genus Magnapinna and was first clearly documented in the early 2000s through remotely operated vehicles operating at depths greater than 4,000 meters. Its morphology differs markedly from that of squids living in shallow waters. The mantle is relatively compact, but the fins are disproportionately large, extending laterally and giving the body an almost geometric symmetry. However, the most striking feature is the posture of its arms. Each arm bends sharply at an angle of about 90 degrees, forming distinct elbows, from which thin, thread-like filaments trail downward. These filaments can reach lengths of 6 to 8 meters, far exceeding the length of the mantle itself. Despite its frightening appearance, much of this apparent size comes from elongated, slender structures with low muscle mass rather than from dense tissue. There is no evidence to suggest that these filaments are adapted for rapid pursuit or forceful attack. In fact, their delicate structure implies limited mechanical strength. Most recorded observations involve juvenile or immature individuals, and fully mature specimens have yet to be thoroughly studied. This species inhabits depths where direct sampling is extremely rare and logistically challenging. As a result, its strangeness arises not only from its anatomical structure, but also from the scarcity of empirical data on its life cycle and behaviour. At depths approaching 15,000 feet, about 4,600 meters, the energy rules of life change in a fundamental way. Food does not swim in dense schools. It sinks sporadically as marine snow, fragmented carcasses, or drifting invertebrates. In such an environment, active pursuit becomes metabolically expensive and statistically inefficient. Every burst of acceleration consumes oxygen and stored energy that may not be replenished for weeks. The morphology of the bigfin squid aligns with a different strategy. Rather than chasing prey, it appears adapted to maximize the probability of encounters while minimizing movement. By extending long, nearly vertical filaments into the water column, the animal increases its effective capture area without expending much muscular effort. The 90-degree bend of the arms positions these filaments downward like suspended trap lines. Any small organism that comes into contact with them may trigger a predatory response. This has not yet been confirmed through direct experimental observation, but the structural logic is consistent with passive feeding models observed in other deep-sea organisms. In a realm where movement is costly, stillness becomes advantageous. Size, in this case, does not imply aggression. It implies reach. And now, look at this. This is not a squid, nor is it a worm. This is the oarfish, Regalicus gleason, the record holder for the longest known bony fish in the ocean. Confirmed specimens have reached lengths exceeding 11 meters, or about 36 feet. Unlike many other deep-sea creatures, it does not have a compact predator-like build, but instead possesses a ribbon-like body that tapers gradually from head to tail. A dorsal fin runs along nearly the entire length of the body and is often bright red in preserved or freshly observed individuals. When weakened, disoriented, or near death, oarfish sometimes rise to the surface, where they are discovered stranded or briefly sighted in open water. Historically, such sightings were extremely rare and poorly understood. In the 19th century, numerous naval reports described long serpentine sea serpents observed at sea, sometimes estimated to be of comparable length. The similarity is anatomically plausible. A long, undulating body seen partially at the surface can appear segmented or snake-like, especially under unstable visual conditions. However, unlike mythical creatures, the oarfish is a documented species, supported by preserved specimens, genetic analyses, and repeated modern records. Its existence is not speculative. What remains under investigation is why such extreme elongation evolved in the first place. In the deep ocean, the distribution of food is primarily vertical. Organic matter from surface ecosystems sinks downward as detritus, dead plankton, fecal material, or, on rare occasions, the carcasses of large animals. Unlike shallow waters, where prey can move horizontally in dense schools, feeding opportunities in the deep sea often arrive from above. Under these conditions, body orientation takes on functional significance. The elongated form of the oarfish can be explained through this ecological geometry. Observations from submersibles and stranding events suggest that oarfish are capable of maintaining a nearly vertical posture in the water column. In such a position, a body exceeding 10 meters in length can span multiple vertical layers simultaneously. This increases the likelihood of detecting chemical gradients, pressure disturbances, or subtle hydrodynamic changes produced by prey sinking downward. The animal does not need to travel long horizontal distances. Instead, its body effectively samples a larger vertical volume while minimizing active swimming. What remains to be addressed are the adaptive narratives themselves. Describing the oarfish as a vertical antenna is a functional model derived from ecological reasoning rather than from controlled behavioral experiments. Likewise, characterizing the bigfin squid as a passive trap predator aligns with its morphology but lacks direct observations of feeding behavior. Scientific caution requires a clear separation between observation and interpretation. Morphology can suggest function, but it does not guarantee it. Deep-sea research is constrained by technological limitations, low encounter rates, and the difficulty of sustained in situ observation. In such environments, hypotheses are often shaped by structural logic and indirect evidence rather than by repeated experimental confirmation. Precisely because of these limitations, the ocean remains a realm humanity longs to reach in order to decipher its many mysteries. And before us stands the giant squid, Architeuthis dux, representing yet another expression of gigantism in the deep sea. Unlike the ribbon-shaped oarfish or the filamentous bigfin squid, this species possesses a structure reinforced for active predation. Verified specimens indicate total body lengths reaching 13 to 14 meters, with body masses measured in the hundreds of kilograms. Its anatomy is anything but fragile. It is built to generate power. Two long feeding tentacles extend far beyond the shorter arms. At the ends of these tentacles are expanded clubs lined with powerful suction cups, each surrounded by serrated rings made of chitin. These rings function as clamping mechanisms, embedding into soft tissue to prevent escape. The beak, located at the center of the arms, is composed of a dense, keratin-like material capable of efficiently tearing flesh. Perhaps most striking are the eyes, among the largest in the animal kingdom, estimated to exceed 25 centimeters in diameter. Such size enhances photon capture in near-total darkness, improving the detection of bioluminescent signals and large moving objects. This morphology does not evoke passive waiting. It evokes confrontation. The giant squid is not merely large, it is armed. The ecological environment of the giant squid includes a formidable predator, the sperm whale, Physeter macrocephalus. Unlike most other deep-sea organisms, sperm whales routinely dive to depths exceeding 1,000 meters and are capable of remaining submerged for over an hour. Analyses of stomach contents have repeatedly confirmed the presence of giant squid remains. This interaction is not hypothetical. It has been documented. Physical evidence of this conflict appears on the whales themselves. Many adult sperm whales bear circular scars along their heads and bodies, with sizes and spacing consistent with the toothed suction cups on the tentacles of giant squid. These marks are not superficial abrasions. They indicate powerful resistance during predation attempts. When captured, the squid does not submit passively. It grips and pulls. This predator-prey dynamic imposes a selective pressure distinct from the energy conservation strategies observed in other gigantic deep-sea organisms. Here, size contributes to mechanical strength, tissue thickness, and leverage. A larger mantle can withstand greater compressive forces. Stronger tentacles increase the likelihood of escape or deterrence. Although the evolutionary process itself cannot be directly observed, the anatomical correspondence and repeated scar patterns strongly reinforce the hypothesis of a prolonged biological arms race unfolding far beneath the surface. A common misconception is that extreme depth prevents large body size because pressure would crush giant organisms. This assumption misunderstands basic fluid mechanics. Hydrostatic pressure increases with depth, but it acts uniformly. Deep-sea organisms are composed largely of water, and liquids are incompressible. The pressure inside their tissues equilibrates with the surrounding seawater. There is no internal-external pressure differential attempting to collapse them under stable conditions. When a rare organism from the deep ocean suddenly appears within humanity's familiar space, it does not remain merely a scientific object. It is quickly burdened with meanings that extend far beyond biology alone. In August 1848, officers aboard the British naval vessel HMS Daedalus reported observing a long, slender creature at sea while travelling in the South Atlantic. The official report, later published in the Times, described a dark-coloured object estimated to be about 60 feet long, approximately 18 metres, moving steadily along the surface of the water. The witnesses included experienced naval personnel trained in maritime observation. They reported a long, serpentine form with what appeared to be a mane or dorsal structure rising above the water. The sighting lasted several minutes, and the observers maintained that it was neither a whale nor any known species of fish. The report immediately sparked debate within the scientific community. Some naturalists argued that it was a misidentification, possibly a seal or a large whale seen from an unusual angle. Others dismissed the description as exaggeration. No specimen was recovered, no physical trace remained. Yet the estimated length aligns strikingly well with the known size of large oarfish. A ribbon-like body, partially submerged, observed from a moving ship under changing light conditions, could produce a segmented or undulating silhouette. The question is not whether the sailors imagined something entirely fictitious. The question is whether limited biological knowledge amplified what they were actually seeing. From a biological perspective, confusing an oarfish with a sea serpent is entirely plausible. Oarfish possess long, laterally compressed bodies and can undulate in a snake-like manner when near the surface. If only part of the body breaks the waterline, an observer may perceive distinct ridges rather than a continuous form. Glare from the water surface, distortion caused by waves, and distance further fragment visual continuity. Human depth perception over open water is often unreliable in the absence of fixed reference points. Under such conditions, size estimates are frequently exaggerated. In Japanese maritime folklore, the oarfish is known as Ryugu no Tsukai, often translated as the messenger from the Dragon Palace. This name reflects a traditional belief that unusual strandings of this long, ribbon-shaped fish are omens associated with disturbances beneath the seafloor, particularly earthquakes or tsunamis. Historical anecdotes describe oarfish appearing along coastlines prior to seismic events. In modern times, clusters of strandings sometimes spark public speculation, especially in tectonically active regions. From a scientific standpoint, no consistent statistical correlation has been established between oarfish strandings and earthquake prediction. Marine biologists note that strandings may result from illness, injury, parasitic infection, or disorientation. Changes in ocean currents or temperature gradients can also push deep water individuals into shallower regions. However, when a rare and visually striking organism appears shortly before a natural disaster, temporal proximity invites causal interpretation. Rarity amplifies attention. Not every story about gigantic creatures beneath the sea originates from legend or vague perception. In some rare cases, they leave direct physical traces on human technology itself. In 1978, the US Navy destroyer USS Stein returned to port with unusual damage to its sonar dome after operations in the Pacific Ocean. Inspection revealed multiple tears in the rubber coating that protects the acoustic equipment. Some of the cuts were deep and curved, resembling claw marks or hooks. Debris embedded in the material was later analysed and showed the presence of chitinous structures consistent with the toothed suction rings of large cephalopods. The vessel reported no collision with any known obstacle. The damage appeared to have occurred underwater. Although the exact circumstances remain uncertain, marine biologists suggested that a large squid, possibly attracted by vibrations or structural features, had made contact with the sonar dome. The limited surface area affected and the nature of the damage do not imply a catastrophic attack. However, the incident demonstrated that large mollusks are capable of exerting forces within the operational envelope of naval hardware. Beyond confrontation and perception, another aspect of deep-sea gigantism involves energy storage and timescale. In environments where food may be scarce for months or even years, body mass can function as a reservoir. Giant isopods, deep-sea relatives of terrestrial pillbugs, exemplify this principle. Documented individuals have survived extended periods of fasting under controlled conditions, in some cases lasting more than several years. Larger bodies allow for greater fat storage and slower depletion under reduced metabolic rates. Temperature further alters this equation. Deep-sea waters are typically near freezing. Low temperatures reduce enzyme activity and overall metabolic demand. Energy is consumed more slowly, cellular turnover decreases, and lifespans can be dramatically extended. The Greenland shark represents an extreme example. Radiocarbon analysis of eye tissue indicates lifespans extending for centuries. Growth rates are slow, but survival is prolonged. Therefore, size may not arise from rapid expansion. It may accumulate gradually over decades or centuries. In a system where mortality rates are low and metabolism is suppressed, longevity becomes a structural factor. In some cases, gigantism has less to do with aggression and far more to do with endurance. The deep ocean does not create myths. It creates organisms shaped by physics, chemistry, and time. Scarcity, cold, and pressure do not eliminate life. They refine it. When humans encounter forms that exceed familiar scales, imagination fills the gaps left by limited data. Some legends dissolve under analysis. Others resolve into documented species. The abyss remains largely unexplored, but it is not unknowable. Its giants are not supernatural. They are solutions, patiently evolved in darkness, sustained by energy measured in years rather than moments.